Pre-tribulation rapture supporters believe that we will not be on the earth when the tribulation begins. Many of them cite the fact that God will spare us from his wrath. Unfortunately, God's promise to spare us from his wrath does not mean that we are exempt from living in the tribulation. In this video, I will explain why we are not exempt. I want to introduce you to myself in case it's the first time you see me. My name is Wayne Crowley. I am the author of the book Prophecy Proof Insights of the End Times, and I am also the author of the book Prophecy Proof Insights on the Last Generation. My goal in making these videos and in my writings is to help make Bible prophecy easy for you to understand. Let's begin by looking at a couple of passages where God promises us that he will spare us from his wrath. So we have a couple of them in 1 Thessalonians. We have 1 Thessalonians 5:9, where it says, "For God hath not appointed us to wrath." So basically, God does not intend us to face his wrath. That's a promise there. We also have 1 Thessalonians 1:9 through 10, where it says that Jesus delivered us from the wrath to come. So together, these verses promises us that God will spare us from his wrath, and that is very comforting. And a lot of people just think that this is a promise that we won't see any type of wrath, and many equate the tribulation to the wrath of God, but they are not the same thing. And I will show you why they are not the same thing. Few are aware that the Greek language, the language of the New Testament, distinguishes between different types of wrath, mainly through the words Thumos or Thymos and the word Orge. So what is the difference between the two words? Thayer defines Thumos as passion, angry, heat, anger forthwith boiling up and soon subsiding again. Orge is defined as indignation which has arisen gradually and become more settled. The difference is in the nature of the wrath. Thumos represents a temporary surge of anger that will rise and quickly subside. Orge represents anger that lasts for a prolonged period of time. So what do these words mean in an end-time context? Thumos is the wrath that God will exhibit against the wicked as they refuse to respond to efforts encouraging them to repent. Orge is God's long-standing wrath against the wicked, who he will punish with everlasting consequences like the lake of fire. Let's go back to 1 Thessalonians. When we look at the passages which promise us that we're not appointed to wrath, the word wrath in those passages is orge. We are not appointed to the orge wrath of God. We are not appointed to God's long-standing wrath against the wicked, like the lake of fire. We're not appointed to that. That is what the Bible promises. We are not appointed to orge wrath. Neither orge or thumos represent the tribulation. A different word in Greek is used instead. That word is thalipsis. For instance, the word tribulation is thalipsis in Greek in Mark 13. Mark 13:19, which you see on your screen, is part of a passage that speaks specifically about the Great Tribulation, the most intense period of persecution in history. The Great Tribulation is referred to as Satan's wrath in Revelation 12, which you also see on your screen. The word thumos appears, not orge. Therefore, the Great Tribulation is not the wrath that God will spare us from. If the tribulation, nor the Great Tribulation, encompass the orge wrath of God, when does it actually begin? Let's take a look. On your screen, you see Matthew 24:29 and Revelation 6:12 through 17. Both passages refer to the same time. We know this because the heavenly signs each described match up. Revelation 6:17 suggests the orge wrath of God is about to begin. Matthew 24:29 states that this is after the tribulation. This is evidence that the orge wrath of God will start after the tribulation. We see the same in Revelation 11 with the sounding of the seventh trumpet. The seventh trumpet will sound at the end of the tribulation. Many key events will happen around that time, including Christ gaining the kingdoms of the earth and the reign of the Antichrist coming to an end. Verse 18 states that the orge wrath of God is about to begin as well. Again, we have evidence that the orge wrath of God will begin after the tribulation. Let's next take a look at the bowl judgments. The bowl judgments are a series of events that will impact the earth near the end of the tribulation. Revelation 15 states that the bowl judgments will complete God's wrath. The word wrath used here is thumos, not orge. This makes sense given our definition of thumos, since the wicked will have chances to repent as the bowl judgments are poured out. they will refuse to repent like the Egyptians refused to repent as the plagues of Egypt were poured out. The word orge does not appear with respect to the bowl judgments until the pouring of the seventh bowl. This is an event that will take place after the tribulation. We know this because Revelation 16:17 through 21 parallels Revelation 11:19, which covers the aftermath of the seventh trumpet. Let's go back to 1 Thessalonians one more time. Again, we have the passages here which promises us that we will not be appointed to God's wrath. We have seen in this video that the wrath of God that this is talking about is God's long-standing wrath against the wicked. We have seen passages that show that this wrath will not begin until after the end of the tribulation. Therefore, these passages are promising us that we will not see or endure God's wrath against the wicked after the tribulation. That is what these passages are promising us. These passages are not promising us a get-out-of-jail-free card from the tribulation itself. I've shown you several passages which prove that the orge wrath of God will not begin until after the tribulation. I've also shown you that the orge wrath of God is not the same thing as the tribulation, nor the great tribulation. God's promise to spare us from his wrath, his orge wrath, does not exempt us from living in the tribulation. God's promise to spare us from his wrath can be true even if we have to endure the tribulation. If you'd like to learn more, I invite you to visit my website at prophecyproof.org, where I have a study on this whole topic, where I go into even more details than I do in this video. I hope you found this video insightful. Take care. I'll see you again soon.